welcome back. I hope you all have had very good discussions sharing about what are the moments that you feel like truly free. So does anyone want to share some of the examples that you shared? One from each room. Who is the leading room one?
I think Lori's example was the best, but I also want to say that Steve said free as a bird, free as a bird. So that's an example of fly, they just have that freedom to glide through the air. But I think Lori's example gave us a lot of good insight. Lori, can you share your example that you gave us?
I feel most free when I have boundaries, like when somebody who I know who loves me and who is smarter than me and wiser than me has given me some boundaries, but that I'm free to do what I want to do, like having.
Yes, all of our examples were connected, so that boundary of it doesn't seem like that would be freedom when you have a boundary or some rules or some guidance. And Anya also added to that by saying that when she got to be 18, that was like the point of freedom, like, oh, I'm an adult, I will be so free. But then she found out that that wasn't really true, that without those guidance and boundaries of her parents, she didn't feel as free as she thought she would. And Mishi shared too that her freedom came in God, which again is some rules and boundaries for us. Everyone's was a little bit connected.
So we talked about a number of different things, but my sharing was about moving back to America. And one of the things that I noticed after some time in other countries was we Americans emphasize that freedom is not having rules. Like right now, we have controversy over something as simple as wearing a mask to protect others, and that's just us as Americans. What the Bible teaches us is that freedom comes from being free from sin. We are born slaves to sin, and freedom is where Christ breaks those bonds and gives us the choice to choose what is good. Lori mentioned boundaries, to choose to live in those boundaries, and that is freedom.
Sounds like we are all pointing to the same message. The freedom, as contrary to what we normally understand, freedom act means like we live freely within the boundary. Thank you.
When we're talking about freedom, I see have a lot of defines about the freedom, and in my opinion, and my group is freedom is free to do everything, and being you are who you are. My moment of freedom is I'm a student and I come from countryside, so when I come to Hanoi, it's a big city, I have to rent a room, and in here a room is so expensive, so I have to share with another people. So I feel freedom when I am alone. When my roommate they go out and I can do anything I want to do.
I think freedom means we are free from expectations. We are free from expectation of people around us. We're from expectations of the people that close to us, like our family, like our parents. We are free from the expectations of ourselves because we have some standard, we have some self-understanding about how or what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. So freedom means that I know that I'm totally accepted by God. He loved me, or He loves us unconditionally, with no expectation. So that when we accept this expectation and conditional love, that we are free from the expectations of people around us, from our families, or from our self. Bias, judgment, complaining, emotion, and self. Like Leslie shared that, free from myself.
Amazing sharing. I'm sure that we all have been inspired and encouraged by what we have been sharing in the breakout rooms. Now we want to save the time for the special guest tonight. So we will invite Steve to share with us what does he think freedom means. So Steve, we will pass the floor to you.
Yeah, I think this is an amazing subject to think about. For myself, when I start thinking about something, I also like to begin to think about, okay, what's the opposite, right? What's the opposite of freedom? So we could think of like slavery is very much the opposite of freedom. To be, and a lot of it I think has also to do with control. You know, am I in control? What am I in control of? Maybe David mentioned earlier about this freedom to choose, to make choices. So maybe the opposite of that would be like I'm not free to make my own choices, right? And I think that many people have this idea of freedom, like Anya mentioned, like when I turn 18, then I'm going to be free. I'm going to be free to do whatever I want to do. But it's interesting, like that's a concept. I'm free to do whatever I want to do. But there's something that actually, when I have the mindset, I'm going to do what I want to do, that's a different kind of slavery. It becomes a different kind of control on my life. And I'm not recognizing actually the boundaries in which I am designed to live in. We are created to live within boundaries. In our breakout room, I mentioned one of the most amazing times I felt the feeling of being free was when I was in high school. My father is a pilot, flies airplanes. And we joined a glider club, and I learned how to fly a glider. A glider is an airplane with big long wings, and it has no motor, no engine on it. Like you don't have an engine, so actually you're not free to travel across the country. You're controlled by actually the variations of they called thermals, the weather. The weather is, the air is going up, it's going down. You can go, and if it's a good day, you can fly up right up into the clouds. And there is an amazing freedom, or like feeling of freedom with it. But there are many boundaries with that. So one, like if the wind stops, okay, I'm going to have to land. If a storm comes, I need to get down on the ground before the. Also gravity. Gravity is very dangerous when you're up high, and if you're not using using the glider within the realm of its design. So this is actually my point. The glider is designed, and when you stay within that design, those boundaries of the design, you have amazing experiences of freedom. The idea of freedom, I think, it can be dangerous. It can be very dangerous if I don't understand the boundaries and the design of my life, right? What is really the purpose of life? If I get this wrong, right now, I'm working with a group of people who are trying to recover from alcoholism and drug addiction, and they have experienced the pain of violating boundaries. And actually their freedom brought them into a greater degree of slavery than before. Now they become a slave to the drugs or to the alcohol.
Yeah.
So this is very important subject for us to think carefully about. What is true freedom, and what is, also what is slavery, where I lose total control. So Anya mentioned, maybe that was in the breakout room, John chapter 8. Just want to read a couple verses there, and then I'll finish up. So John chapter 8, verse 31, Jesus says this. He says, "If you abide in my word," abiding in my word that doesn't look like freedom. That actually looks like being connected to something that it could seem very rigid, but if you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed. You are truly my disciples. So the word, here's the important thing. If I think that, oh, I'm free to do whatever I want, whatever I want should fall within the boundaries of what is true. Otherwise, it's going to deceive me and I will become a slave to something else. And Jesus said, actually, true freedom is found in an abiding, connected relationship with Him as His disciple, where actually I make choices. I'm free to choose, but I make choices to submit to or surrender to who is Jesus Christ. Does that make sense? Like, I'm free to choose, and I make a choice to submit to truth and abide in the design by which I was created. And this is true freedom. So a little bit later, he mentions, you're my disciples indeed, which means you really are your true disciples. Therefore, if the Son makes you free, then you are free indeed. Then it's true freedom. So I love the discussions we've had here. It's helping me, actually helping us think about what is true freedom. If I think true freedom is just do whatever I want to do, whatever I feel like doing, what's going to be the result? I'm going to become enslaved to something else, much more terrible than. But the greatest freedom is to submit to and choose to, submit to truth and like bind myself to truth. Truth is not just a concept, it's not just a philosophy, but it's a person of Jesus Christ. So
amazing. Freedom means that we have the freedom to choose to submit to the truth. I love that. And we are created to live within the boundaries that God designed for us.